really any Avatar news at the moment.
Oh no, what a shame.
But there must be some soon. We're only 6 months away, so there's got to be something.
6 months. What's 6 months in that whole timeline of actually no, the third film has been pretty quick, isn't it? Right, because they've been producing that while they were doing the second one.
When you've waited 13 years between films,
6 months is nothing.
You know, it'll be over in the blink of a Na'vi eye. It'll be here before we know it.
I love the way aliens is called Navis, like, you know, because they're like proper salt of the earth, man. You know, proper. Like, they've got coal sacks on their shoulders, and they can, like, fly around in them little flying things. What is they called, like dragons and that, you know, and big rocks in the sky.
What's Alan Partridge's mate? You sound like him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the Geordie in the hotel.
Yeah.
Him. No, I'm gonna send you a link to, because from your. Did you ever watch Vic Reeves' Big Night Out?
Sometimes, yeah.
There was a sketch on there they did. It was in the last series. That was when it was on BBC, and they did. They had this bloke who came on every time, and he was a Geordie bloke, and he comes up to him and he goes, "All right, like, and I'm Tom Cruise. I've just taken a break from his filming, you know, doing my stunts and all. And I thought I'd come and just hang around here for a bit. Like, do you want a sandwich? And I shall go and make you a cup of tea and a sandwich, like, yeah. And then like, yeah, go on, make us a sandwich, will you? Go on, put some eggs in it. And it's like, all right, yeah. You're not taking the piss out of us or nothing. No, you're right, Tom. Go on, Tom. Off you go, Tom. It's like,
I don't remember that.
I'll send you the links for you. It's hilarious.
I'll look at that,
It makes me laugh anyways. Oh dear.
Well, we've got company tonight, haven't we?
Oh yes, we do. Yeah. Yes. We have the Celestial Toy Breaker with us.
Yeah.
AKA Mr. Al Dewar.
Our good
evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. It's been I was going to say it's been a busy week, but it's more on the domestic front. It's probably been not very. It's only Monday, so
it's only Monday. It's only Monday. We have the whole week to look forward to.
So busy this morning at work, I completely missed the release and everything. I came out of my meeting at about 11 o'clock, and it had all happened.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it had been a busy day on that front. It's been certainly all go on social today, isn't it?
Go.
It was, yeah. The only thing I had to do was I came out at quarter past. Came out of the meeting at about quarter or whatever. I got distracted at 10:15, and I suddenly realised I hadn't posted the CAD files of the pod.
Yeah.
So I had to grab those off my friend and quickly throw them into a WhatsApp link and chuck them on the Galloping Pace website. And people were still stunned by the release anyway at that point. That I think they kind of most of them kind of completely missed it until the afternoon. But they're like, CAD, what's this all about?
Yeah.
What does it mean? What is it, code for something? Hey,
Yeah.
What?
Well, if anyone's not sure, we are indeed talking about this chap and this chap, the new 14 and the Meep double pack that was announced today, and must say, Al, these two are rather excellent, aren't they?
I'm very.
They're
pleased.
really good.
I have to say, I'm very. Weirdly enough, I was always. I mean, the Meep has a slightly convoluted story, but I was certainly very. I was actually very pleased about the Doctor, because that figure is converted to a jacketless version quite nicely.
Whereas McCourt, McCourt's gone missing,
and he's got
put it down somewhere.
Sveltness that I think the figure always needed. So he's very sort of correct.
Yeah, he does sort of. He is quite, as Donna would describing, a lanky piece of
skinny man.
Yeah, skinny man. Yeah.
And like a rat.
Yeah.
It's actually quite heroic, actually. I mean, whatever pose you put him in, he stands up in a very heroic demeanour, I would say.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. The head also, I was never quite very happy with the regeneration head. So although it's actually the same head, it was completely recast.
Yeah. It's got a quiff, hasn't it?
It is a slightly different iteration, albeit in theory it's exactly the same. So it's so that was pretty good. And then the Meep was done. So the Doctor originally was done by Ed Barnet Ward. And then the Meep was sculpted by Andrew Teal at Designworks, who is absolutely brilliant. Now, Andrew's got a very particular way of working, and a very literal way of working, in that he likes to be told expression wise what you want. So my initial brief was, can you do the Meep, one smiley, one evil, here's all the assets, and I gave him everything that we'd got from Bad Wolf and the company work. And he did exactly what I asked for. And I came back and went, oh, his nose is a little bit pointy, and could his eyes have? And I started annotating, as I always do with everything. I started annotating over the thing, and Andrew sort of came back and went, and like, this is why Andrew's really literal, and I like it. Andrew basically said, "Tell me what you want, and I'll do it."
I'll do it. Yeah.
I literally then had to grab him 2 screen grabs of the exact poses that I wanted to do with the Meep. And it was actually during that conversation that we discovered that there was a discrepancy. So the CG version of the Meep that they did on screen, we had all the assets for that, which was part of the package that I gave to Andrew. But it doesn't quite match up with the girl in a suit.
Physical.
It's a girl in a suit. So
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
The girl in the suit sort of puppet with the animatronic head, which is probably the one that's more sort of front and center in the whole thing. So off the back of that, he did a few revisions, and then once we started getting into the articulation, I realized we had a slight dilemma, because as a puppet, the Meep is just a big fluff ball.
Yeah.
But as an action figure, the arms need to articulate out, forward,
and
back.
they do. Yeah, they're good, aren't they?
Then also you've got this hands up pose and then hands down. So that then led to a complete reevaluation of the arms. Because again, I had to kind of go back to Andrew and say, well, if these are separate, can we sculpt these slightly differently?
Yeah.
And he just tore into it and just made it brilliant. And then he did. So in the end, he sculpted, because we weren't sure what level of articulation we'd be able to get in. So in the end, I think he did the 2 heads, 1 body. I think he ended up doing 4 arms, 6 hands, possibly even 7 hands, because I think there was a variant that we ended up that was different. And then I sort of drew in where the articulation points were going to be. And this is you guys will know it's a slightly weird and different figure, because you can interchange a lot of the parts, which is not a territory we've kind of gone into. Well, we have, but not in quite such a direct way. So there was still a bit of me wondering up to the point of release, should we give the customers a little suitcase for all the spare body parts? Because I'm like, you know what it's like, you put something on your shelf and
you lose bits. They
just fly off.
This
spree from James Bond from a decade ago that was my absolute pride and joy, and it had all the little bits, and you could take it all off and turn it from the road car into the underwater sub.
Yeah.
So much of that stuff got lost.
I know. Yeah, the little missiles that shoot out the back. Did you have
breaks
those?
my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've still got a DB. I do have. Hold on. This will show you what the B reaches back. I have my little DB set. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's nice, and it's got the little ejector man in there. There he is. Except it doesn't come out. But I used to have a version of this when I was a kid, and the little man who comes out of the car. He disappeared.
Gone.
He didn't last the distance for sure. But so I made sure that as an adult, I kept hold of my little man. But
Exactly.
unfortunately,
So that's one of the joys of designing toys bits, and my desk is littered with Meep hands. Every now and again, I'm moving a cup and a Meep hand turns up, or the head. And weirdly, I'm slightly biased towards the evil Meep.
Yeah.
I kind of
it's
him.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love kind Meep. You know, there's a lot of expression in the face because you've got
There
like
is,
tilt
yeah.
on the head as well, haven't you? And when you get the hands right, you can recreate those scenes. But
Well, the other
there's
thing,
something
yeah,
gleeful.
yeah, right. I kept adding gloss to the eyes. I was like, "Can you make the eyes glossier?" And then Joanne at work was like, "Yes." And then she added more gloss, and I was like, "So have you added the gloss?" "Yes, we've added the gloss." "Can you make it more glossy?"
More glossy, even more glossy.
Continually
Yeah.
make it more glossy.
They
To the point
do
where she
look.
said, "This is as glossy as the factory can make it. Don't ask for any more."
It's pretty good,
But
actually.
it adds real kind of life to them.
It does,
you know,
yeah.
and they're catching the light really nicely. And I suppose because normally when you do a figure, much like on 14, the eyes are very small, aren't they? So you haven't really got much to play with.
And if you made them super glossy, they wouldn't look right. But that
No, that's it.
character has a very particular look to his eyes. So actually, I think the eyes work extremely well.
Yeah, they do.
I did notice
actually,
that the images of the Meep pod that I'd put up today, I'd used an early prototype where he's got a bit of Marty Feldman going on with the eyes, and I corrected that for the release. But I was like, oh, flipping egg.
Yeah, he's looking straight at me, and
Needs a trip to Specsavers.
yeah. So, how long have you been working on him? Because obviously the episode came out, was it two years ago now, a little while ago? And I remember, there was sort of discussions about the figure for a while, I think, weren't there? But how long?
Been working on him probably for about a year and a half, basically.
Oh wow!
Quietly. You got to remember, Doctor Who's not a sort of priority, but we do have to kind of set out a rough plan. And he was always planned for this year, and obviously there are further sets to come, which I think is, well, hopefully people will like them. You never know. And if they're successful, then there's an even bigger plan for next year because I've got a sort of pitch internally to kind of do something that I think will excite the fans.
Ooh.
Just in case anyone asks us, we don't know.
We don't know anything. No, we know nothing. He never tells us anything, honestly.
No, we don't.
We have to keep giving him sweets and that, and he still doesn't talk. It's like getting blood out of an egg.
Well, that's Paul's bribery money coming in the post.
Damn.
No, it is purely speculative, and it very much does how these sets do this year. So, folks, if you want more sets next year, buy the ones from this year.
Watch
and I know they're a big
space.
ask. I know they're expensive. I know they are.
Mm.
I don't think people realise how expensive figures are to produce, and I know that especially people in the US and Australia are suffering a little bit with various costs that are added on. We are trying to fix that. But it's
you
not
said something on Gallifrey Base about that today, didn't you? You'd hope
not a
to
short-term
fix
fix,
it.
unfortunately. But I certainly get the pain. I understand the pain. We all love new stuff. The only thing I can hold up against it is, as I always do, is if you go on anybody else's website and look at the action figures, we are at the very least, competitive, and in most cases, we are more than competitive.
Easily. Well, so on those couple of topics there, if I was to go and buy something that was to ship from the States or Hong Kong or something like that, the costs for me to get it in would be quite high, and then also there's the risk of it getting caught at customs and having to pay a charge on there. So, I know it's not ideal, but for someone in the States to order this, and there's going to be costs. It works kind of inversely for us as well. And in terms of the costing, Al, we talked a little while ago, there was that Thunderbolts double figure pack, wasn't there, that you text me, did I want a mini Yelena? And that was 60 quid.
I think we both did.
We did, yes.
60 quid?
Yeah.
That's nearly an armful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I always use Black Series, and it's not really comparable. People have got, you buy a Black Series figure, it's all new tooling and it's all this. Yeah, but also the collector base is much bigger, so Hasbro's risk development is conversely much, much smaller than ours, because if they get, 40, 50, 60,000 people buying their figure, then they've paid it off and made some money before it's even been manufactured.
Works on volume, doesn't it?
It works on volume, so it's a slightly different gig. So if you take £5 off our cost, which is roughly the postage and the labour and the packing and all the other stuff that goes with it, then you're paying £20 a figure, which was basically what you were paying at retail for
easily, for figures,
anyway, so.
for figures like this, this quality, this detail, easily. And also, it'd be interesting to know what Meep costs to make, if you can share that. But you said about Ashad before, then it was $7,000 or something, wasn't it, to do the scanning and the sculpting and all of that. I don't think people realise, there's a lot of, you can take this part from this figure and this bit from that bit and stick them together, but actually it still don't really work like that, does it?
No, you can't mix and match tooling. What you can do is amend tooling. So if I've got a figure and I want to change some parts on it, I can do that, but I can't just willy-nilly choose this from that. But that's a good example of the 14th. I saw a comment today, I guess valid from their point of view, but they were sort of saying, it's not a Vortex figure. We were promised these would be all new with all new articulation like the Doctor. That's not what we said at all. What we said with the Vortex edition was they will be a higher spec figure. Some may be all new like the Meep, some may be updated like the Pertwee or the Tennant figure, and some may be even older figures that just have a higher level of decoration. So there's different levels, and it's one of the inherent problems with this range per se, which is, and it's happened a couple of times. I've gone back with a plan to use, in fact, it's on one of the figures for next year, if it happens, but I've gone back with plans to use a certain figure as the base, and the reality is, in fact, it happened on one of the figures for this year. I've gone back to use a figure on the basis that I can use this, and it really, you can't, because you realise how crude, in inverted commas, those early figures were. I'm not saying they're not good, but it's the old pig with lipstick scenario that they are of their time. They're 15, 20 years old, some of them. So when you come, it doesn't matter how you respec the deco, you're essentially just doing a really nice paint up on a figure that doesn't really meet modern standards. So, like I said, it's happened a couple of times, and it will undoubtedly happen again. But that then drives you into having to change ideas, or just completely drop a figure in favor of one that you can do something better with. And I think modern day expectations are higher, and if you're going to come out,
very true,
£20 for a figure, they got to be top notch. And I think that the moon I heard today was it's not got the articulation of the the Ruby and the Doctor. No, it doesn't. But it's a mega high paint spec. Tartan, the amount of spray ops on that figure, the additional deco on the back of the waistcoat, the black washes,
the little tie,
washes, the paint on the faces, the tie, everything is it is all massively up spec.
I've seen
it's actually astonishing.
I've seen quite a few people today saying how much improved they felt it was from the regeneration set version, and even that one in the coat was really good, but this again is a leap ahead, and it's exactly like you said, Al, a figure that's 15 or 20 years old will be of its time, and things improve, and skill sets and technology and all that stuff. And I know this is a little bit different, but you can see it in something like a Funko Pop. The earlier ones, the bodies are not as detailed, they're much kind of bulkier and blockier and kind of simplistic, and then you look at some of the newer ones and there's much more kind of life and detail in them, and that's only a little thing of that size. So you're working on something with a lot more to it, like this, of course, it's inevitable that older stuff won't kind of, be up to scratch in comparison to
And like
today.
I say, it's
you
not
know.
that it can't be done. There's, like I say, there's certainly, the Pertwee was a good example where it worked pretty well. But
Yeah.
there's another figure in this year's line that is essentially, and it's flipping brilliant, but it's essentially brand new because there was no way to reuse anything in order to try and get that figure to work.
Yeah,
And I even tried reusing some of the most modern figures and still ended up with like you're using the hip and it's like, okay, that's great. Where's the rest of the figure coming?
Yeah.
but
So,
I'm excited for whatever gets made, but these modern remasters of old things like the Pertwee, like you said, it was the old body but the brand new head on it, and so that's brilliant. I didn't have a Pertwee before,
Me
so
neither.
for me that was fantastic. And even if I
And a
did have
maggot.
one,
Little
Yeah.
maggot as well.
yeah, people
on the
people
shelf.
went mad for the maggot. Someone
Yeah.
asked me today, are there variants with this set that they should be keeping an eye out for? And I nearly said there's a third Meep head around, but I thought
That would
I
have been
won't
fun.
I won't poke the fire.
well, do you know what? In hindsight, if I'd thought about it, I would have. What I would have done is I'd have done a few blue Meeps as like insane chase figures,
Yeah,
Yeah.
blue variant. So I would have done that, but at the time, you're so just trying to get the base thing
And
done.
you're on a deadline as well, presumably,
Yeah.
aren't you, with these things?
Yeah, and we've got one set that's already got moved back because we ran into a couple of issues. So it's not stopped, but what it does mean is we're now slightly back heavy, so the back end of the year.
Yeah.
So all I'd say is people save your money, start
Yes.
saving. Because
I was thinking if there's three
we've
more
got
to
about
go.
there's about 3 months where it's gonna now. One alone was saying it'd be at Christmas time, so you can ask somebody else to pay for it. But the other,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's going to be worth it, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, but then also, sorry, that's the other thing I was going to say. That philosophy of Deco kind of filters down even into the B&M stuff, and I think you guys have been privy to some of the B&M stuff that's coming. But you can't, if you're pushing a factory to be better and better and better, there's no point in letting them do kind of duff.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Stuff. So by pushing them uphill in one area, you kind of push them uphill in the other area. So the B&M stuff benefits by default
From that evolution.
because,
Yeah.
they know your level of expectation is higher, even if it is just a pain. So
Yes,
that's
the B&M stuff is quite saucy. We were quite happy. Saucy.
I was very happy.
Yeah, it's really good.
I was very happy.
I saw someone on Twitter had suggested a Blue Meep and Fourth Doctor B&M pairing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of the CO exclusives are ever going to be in B&M. So people keep suggesting that. They keep saying, "Oh, the 15th Doctor will be in B&M." It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Keep saying the same thing. It's not going to happen. Not on my watch. Maybe
On my watch.
Maybe after I'm gone.
It's never going to happen.
No.
I can hear the cheering and the pitchforks. From, not on my watch, and I don't. That's certainly not the plan. That's the whole point. The exclusives is, so it's like the Pertwee. A lot of people said, "Oh, it should have been a season 7," but season 7 figure wasn't really as colourful. That doesn't mean we won't go back and do a really nice season 7 Pertwee, because it would be an obvious one to do. And there is a bunch of, and again, there's another school of thought that was just, should we just re-release all the Doctors as sort of new versions? But again, you continually run into this thing where, something's not quite as good as it could be. So, you know, Pertwee's head was a good sort of example where that was changed. So, yeah.
I like that these are, you know, the online exclusive, because it's aiming, you know, directly at the fans, isn't it? At us, you know, and I think, you know, you're making them specifically for them, aren't you? Rather than, you know, kind of a bigger mass release and stuff. And I think,
Yeah.
There's only a limited number, isn't there? Like, that's it. Once they're gone, they're gone.
That's certainly the theory, and that's the way we've been working. So it is kind of one and done. You know, I saw somebody today sort of saying, "Oh, you know, is there any chance there's a Magellan set sort of kicking around?" It's like, well, no, they're sold out. So you know, as you know, other than giving away a personal copy, which I have done to a couple of people in the past with various figures, but you know, they're there, for a reason.
Yeah.
So they don't tend to come around again.
funny enough, I was talking to brother-in-law yesterday, and he was saying he wanted to get the Lego Home Alone house, and he thought the kids would enjoy doing it for Christmas and stuff. And he said it's on my wish list at Lego, but I'm umming and ahhing. And he said, "Do you think they'll retire it?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably at some point soon. You know, when anything like this comes out, I think if you can, you've got to leap on it and go for it, because you just never know how quickly
Don't
it's going
think
to
too long
disappear."
about it.
Yeah, it's like
all the big Lego sets sell out. You know,
Oh my goodness.
I hung up a whole bunch of his Star Wars stuff in his room at the weekend and put all these Mandalorian Starfighter and these X-Wings. They're brilliant. They're hanging on fish wire.
Cool.
Fish gun.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really cool. But he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really enjoying Lego again. I think I should get some more Lego kits." And I'm like, where are you going to put them? Because we've got so many of these bloody things. And the things that you can hang up is fine, but he's got like the Friends set that he built that was his mum's Christmas present, and he's got like a bit of Hogwarts Castle, and Jasmine's got some in her room. Like,
mix and match.
it's just dust magnets. They look nice, but they're impossible to clean, and it's just the idea of more Lego. But I think you're right. I think he went online. He was like, "Oh, I want to have a look at Star Wars stuff and see if there's any Star Wars Lego." But he's like, "Well, there's a Death Star set here that's like 280 quid."
Yeah.
You won't ever get in that. Never get in that.
Here's my card.
Yeah, exactly. I just had, because I thought you were telling a joke when you said a Home Alone house in Lego, but no, it is
real.
actually a thing, isn't it? I just had to Google it. There it is, the McAllister's house in Lego.
Yeah.
Did you know the whole theory about Home Alone?
What?
You heard this? Well, it's not a theory; it's an actual fact.
Go on.
Home Alone, everything is blue, green, and white. Everything. And if you watch Home Alone and you have that in your head, it is so obvious. The McAllister house is all done in greens, all to make it more Christmassy. It's all done in
interesting
greens and reds,
and
white, so that it feels like it's just
Christmas.
Fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a favorite in our house. We absolutely love it. Kevin.
Yeah, the kids are big on it. I must admit, or like pretty much all of them. I think they have their favourites, but they've seen them all several times over.
Yeah, my
Home Alone and Nativity, the Nativity films as well. I think they're the favourites.
Yeah, I only like 1 and 2 because they're the only ones.
Yeah. Well, they're the only ones I've seen. They've seen them all, but yeah.
2 doesn't appeal to me as much. 1 because it's got Tim Curry. 2 because it's got Donald Trump.
Oh yeah.
But it kind of is a repeat of all the really good jokes that were already in the first one for me.
Yeah.
I think the first one's got more soul.
Yeah.
One of the
I think
the
you're
bits
right.
I really, my kids thought it was hilarious in Home Alone 2 is when he gets electrocuted in the basement, and then you see a skeleton with his. They're so stupid. It's really funny.
Yeah. Actually, I'll say that. I was saying it.
I'm not saying it's funny because there is some.
It's quite barbaric. I said my kids like I said my kids like Home Alone. It's actually only my eldest who really likes it. I just realised because Freya hates it. She can't. Well, she doesn't hate it, but she has trouble dealing with the violence in it. She's like, that's gonna hurt. That's not funny.
The scene where he's throwing bricks off the roof.
Yeah.
Oh God! I mean, his head would come off. You know, it's very Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, exactly. It's cartoon violence, isn't it?
It is, but you're right, Al. When you stop to think about it, actually, yeah, it's horrific. You know, the level of violence in it. But I was going to say,
blowtorch to the top of the guy's.
Yeah, he just loses his hair. Yeah, right.
It's fun.
That Lego set was one of their maybe you know what they call it, Al, but people kind of submit designs and then they get voted, and if they get 10,000 votes, they go through to Lego, and then they basically decide whether they'll make it or not.
My friend Ed was very upset because he submitted a Ghostbusters Ecto design years ago, and he built it in that system that they have, and it didn't get through. And then somebody did it about 5 years later, and that one got built, and he was just really miffed.
Well, that's annoying. Yeah, I have seen that Lego one. Yeah.
See, some Lego works, and some doesn't. But if I was Lego, I'd be like, how much landfill are we?
Are we looking at here? Yeah.
Well, aren't they working on like biodegradable bricks that will you know?
They've abandoned that though. I mean, it's like
really?
biodegradable plastics. If you think it through, it's like us making biodegradable action figures. Why would you? Because you kill the market for the collectors who want to keep it in their loft. You know, my action figure gets slightly wet, and 10 minutes later, it's in the compost.
Yeah,
it doesn't truly biodegrade. And the other thing they found was that in order to create this biodegradable plastic, they essentially had to do the old palm oil thing again, which is let's cut down 100,000 mile Amazon rainforest to grow a plant that you can then use to make biodegradable plastic. And they spent a hell of a lot. I think it was about $1 billion they spent just trying to, for the right reasons.
But not fully workable reasons. In the end,
It's the same issues toy companies and most companies have, which is, there are collectors out there who will keep stuff forever. But the old thing is manifestly true. I collect lots of nice things, and I've got props and replicas, and I've got my Ghostbusters packs and the stuff that I've built, which is great. But it's when I snuff it, it's not. I'm not sure my kids will be like, oh yeah, all that crap Dad had. That's got to be worth hanging on to.
It's not going to happen, don't you?
What did you find in the loft? Oh, I found this Doctor Who action figure. Toss it out. Something.
Chuck that, charity bag.
Yeah. So,
well, you say that, but hopefully they would be a bit more, interested. And
let me tell you, Geoff, whatever you think, your kids are 100% disappointed. My dad gave me two things. One, his kilt, which was horrible and didn't fit, so it's hanging up in the loft, just waiting for a squadron of moths to appear. The other one was a tie that he'd got from some Welsh guy.
Yeah.
Again, which meant absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah.
Other than a few bits of silverware and stuff like that. God, this has turned morbid, hasn't it? But
it's got a little bit morbid. Yeah. I think that my stuff I've inherited as well was just kind of sat in a drawer or in a box in the loft.
Yeah.
Been there like 20, 30 years, and I've never.
That's right. My granddad drove steam engines. And I've got his watches and paraphernalia upstairs. I got my mum's belt from when teacher, and literally like her leather belt and my dad's leather belt. I'll sit in the drawer probably until hell freezes over.
Yeah. It sounds awful to say, because obviously these things meant a lot to our grandparents and what, to the person, and and it's tough, but it's like I'm not going to use it. You know, I'm not going to sell it because it's a family thing, or it's probably unsellable anyway. You know, it's just, and I don't want to disrespect it, but I'm not going to do anything with it because I don't know what to do with it, and you know, I've got loads of other crap as well. So it's like,
I think if you get older, you get more selective.
yeah, exactly it. Yeah, I think you're right actually. Yeah, so the lesson there is, Geoff, whatever you think you're going to pound onto your kids, sell it instead, because they're not going to care really.
You probably can't see it, but here,
I see you raising your finger in a threatening manner.
Yeah, I've got two little trinkets that my dad's dad made, and they're made out of bullet cases from when he was in the war. And one of them is like a wheelbarrow with an old coin as the wheel, and the other one is like I don't know what you'd call it, but you'd scoop up coal and throw it in the fire.
Coal scoop.
And,
coal skull. Coal skull. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So I got passed those down when they passed away, and I kept them stuff, and so that's quite nice to have. And,
I think that's a slightly different thing in a way from
he made it himself.
Alan and I were talking. Yeah, he made it out of something that was very specific to him there at that point, and the fact it's made out of a bullet as well just says a lot. That carries a weight of history to it, which it's just totally unique. Whereas, I mean, I've got because you were on about you were saying about a tie from a Welsh guy. Random Welsh guy, like my granddad has a silver letter opener, which I was getting. And it's a beautiful thing. It's nicely crafted, but again, it was just something he picked up from a ballroom dinner somewhere that would just an event, and he just slipped it into his pocket. That was it. It's like, so it doesn't mean anything to him. He just palmed it off. And my mum said, and she said, do you want this from your granddad? I'm like, what is it? Is it a knife? What? She goes, no, it's a letter opener. And even I was saying, what? Letter? What, for envelopes? Like, you don't just tear it with your fingers. No, it's an actual proper letter opener.
One of these.
Right, because we obviously all still write letters to each other, and I was a bit sulky, which is horrible. We
used to have a cavalry sword that was used for exactly that. You used to sit at the writing desk.
Open the letters with a cavalry sword.
We used the writing desk. So the whole thing was, depressingly redundant.
Yeah.
There you go. We cheered ourselves up now.
Is your spider plant? Is it trying to do a bit of a swampy impersonation?
It's
over the front.
It's leaning over in its pot, and there is another one which you can see that side of me. So that was what I was looking at. Yeah, my girls made them when they were at Gran and Grandad's, Ali's parents, a while ago, and they sat in the conservatory for a bit, and then when I put the shelf in, I was like, oh, I'll put these here, and that'll decorate them. But now they're sort of quite rapidly starting to get unmanageable, perhaps. So,
what's that? I was going to say, what's that lovely Airfix kit up at the top? But actually, it's your avatar.
It's this avatar post that he rescued from the office before they chucked him out, wasn't it?
This is the one signed by the younger cast and producer John Lando, who's no longer with us.
That's pretty cool. So can I ask a question here? I can ask it of both of you, obviously, but you just put me in mind of something. I did mean to ask you this before, actually, but what is your favourite James Cameron movie? You're only allowed to pick one. So what's it going to be? Geoff's going to have to really think about this because it means destroying every other single James Cameron movie into oblivion. But you can save one. But it's only one. Would you do one now while Geoff squirms?
So and I'm probably going to get this wrong.
Be careful.
My favourite. God, it's very hard because my guilty pleasure is The Abyss.
That's your guilty pleasure.
The Abyss.
Oh no, that's not a guilty pleasure. I think that's a cracking good film.
I do like. I do like the Terminator stuff, but I think the one I would have to save is Aliens. Because it's probably the one that I would say is every director has a sort of masterpiece moment, and that's probably for me his masterpiece moment.
Interesting. Geoff,
you're gonna throw us with something curveball. Aren't
go on, Geoff. What's it going to be?
A question like this is actually quite difficult for me because you're semi right there, Al. Most directors have they have a masterpiece, but genuinely, I feel like Cameron has Aliens, Terminator 2, Titanic, and both Avatar films, and possibly Terminator. Although I do think the second one
Would you not put Terminator above Terminator 2?
No.
Because it's kind of raw. It's it's cheaper. For him to create something that brilliant on literally a shoestring, and for it to nudge cinema history and action movies in a different direction, that's impressive.
100% a vehicle, but I'm with you that I think Terminator, because it's the Star Wars of that kind of
absolutely, it's that influential.
It's stop motion animation. It's a pretty shonky puppet of Arnie's head, but
but it's the storytelling behind it, and the visual storytelling as much as anything, which is what Cameron and George Lucas are on, isn't it? It's the visuals that change the world.
Totally, but for me, it's the sequel because I saw it when I was like 11.
So and it's got a special thing for you, hasn't it?
And I'd never seen anything like it, and I remember the lad I was watching it with when Arnie gets speared with the pole, and he shuts down. I said,
"God, this is for
dead, is he?" And I was really quite sort of worried about it, and obviously he comes back, and I was like, oh my god, and then the ending is really quite moving, and so that T2 holds a very special place in my heart, and I wanted to find out who was.
I know what you mean. T1 and T2 are quite, for me, quite contrasty because Terminator 1, he is absolutely the unstoppable death. Nobody had ever done something.
No, absolutely.
Things probably like Duel and stuff, still sort of human based, but in terms like Terminator and Terminator 1, you just know that thing is coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's not stopping. And then Terminator 2, they get kind of smart and they can use CGI, and he's now the friendly robot.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a. But it's different for Geoff because you saw Terminator 2 first, didn't you? That was your moment when you thought you wanted to be a filmmaker and make movies, and it opened your eyes.
I wanted to find out, who is Schwarzenegger, and I wanted to find out more about him, and then, what's the director? Who's James Cameron? Oh, I want to be that, and so
get to the job.
That's where all of that came from. But if I had to pick one film,
back to the question. What are you going to say?
I would say Avatar: Way of Water.
Oh, really?
I know people say, it's only a couple of years old. Yeah, but it's fucking superb. And
I honestly thought you were going to say Terminator 2, to be fair.
I would have done it.
Because it is that special for you.
Yeah.
But, can you live without it, really?
Yeah, because now that I'm... So now that I have kids of my own, anything that involves children on a film, hits me in a different way. And, when the first Avatar came out, I didn't have kids. And it did to me then what T2 did when I was younger.
Right.
And then when the second Avatar came out, I had kids. And so the fact that then the narrative in that had moved forward to enable them to have kids and stuff, and kind of within the sort of time frame that we'd waited for it, it really kind of got me. So not only did it expand the world and just kind of, have all this incredible stuff in it, but then, it was really had that kind of emotional core to it that got me. And it's got giant flying fish creatures in it. Amazing. And I fully expect
and it does
to
look
be
good.
blown away.
I actually made it through the end of that film, so I thought it was quite good for me. No, I'm being facetious. I'm sorry, mate. I did enjoy it, actually. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first movie. The first movie was not my cup of tea at all.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The second one was much more. Yeah, it's much more. I mean, it didn't seem to break the world by that slight. It seemed to actually reinforce it, if anything, but told a story that I didn't feel was as derivative, but was actually, a nice family-based piece with a shed load of action and a bad guy in it.
It's not particularly kind of earth-shattering in itself, but what it does is reintroduce you to the world, expand it enough, and then I think in Fire and Ash is when he's going to start fucking things up. That's when it's going to.
Where are you, Paul? What's your?
Mine's really easy, actually, and it's the same as you. It's Aliens. I cannot live without that movie in my life, and
so
it was
a question for you. Sorry, but and I didn't mean to interrupt. But
that's right.
There's a cut version of Aliens that makes more. So there's obviously a sort of cut version.
Yeah.
And then there's the one where they've restored things like the sentry guns, and it kind of seems to make more sense. Are you answer the original question, but then the sub question from me would be: are you inclined one way?
Yeah, I want the sentry guns, and I want that bit in Hadley's Hope at the start of it. I want the Red Dwarf captain back where he belongs, because all that stuff was filmed. It was written in the script. It was all scripted, and it was only for timing issues they thought to take it out. If that was filmed nowadays, they'd keep it all in from the start, because they don't mind a film running time that goes on for like 2.5, 2.75 hours or so.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think it's even that long, is it, when you put all that stuff back
it's
in?
It's only 11 or 17 minutes, or
exactly.
That,
it's not a huge amount,
but it does add a huge amount to it.
I think it strengthens the story, because the bit with the sentry guns as well is that moment where you realise how relentless they are, and it's such an effective kind of visual thing to see, isn't it? I'm messing my words. We're past 10 o'clock now recording, so my words are not going to make sense. But when you see the rounds counting down as these sentry guns are blasting at the aliens, and one of them is completely empty, and the second one is still going, and they're still coming at them, and that round counter is getting down towards zero, and you think it's only going to end one way. The alien's just going to stop. The sentry guns are going to run out of ammo. It's game over. Game over, man. But it isn't. It stops on like just a few left. Is it like 6 or 7 left or something ridiculous like that? Down at single digits. I can't remember now. It's been a while.
Yeah,
but
and then they try a different tack. But...
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but now it's like they know what they're up against, and now the audience knows what we're kind of up against as well. And I used to watch this movie. I first rented it out, and it was a shorter version on VHS, and I just used to watch it on a Sunday afternoon. And then it was like, and I enjoyed it so much the first time. I rented it the following Sunday, and then and it almost like got into a thing where I watched it almost every week on a Sunday afternoon, because my parents would be out, I'd be in with the TV, and if anybody came over, I would force them to watch Aliens, which is really bad. One of my mates come over, we used to go play snooker and pool and whatever, and he's like, I don't make me watch this fucking film, man. No, you got to watch it, we got to watch it, and then we'll go out, we'll go for a few beers afterwards. Like...
Now, quiz. I'm afraid we've got a quiz question for you.
Oh, no, man, that's not good.
Somebody famous was replaced in the cast. Can you tell us who it was?
What, of Aliens, like?
Of Aliens.
Yes.
Aliens.
Oh, who was it?
Who was it? Jeff's the expert.
I'm not doing the accent.
Don't do the accent. You'll offend all our Scottish listeners.
A very specific thing happened which changed the life of one of the actors, but made a significant change to the film. Do you know about it?
Oh,
was it?
I've got the book all about the making of that came out not that long ago. And I was quite surprised. I can't remember who it was, but basically Hicks was replaced.
Yes.
Hicks was played by a completely different actor.
Who played Hicks
originally? Through this sort of boot camp as a warm-up to being colonial marines.
He was originally played by James Remar. That's right. I knew that. Yeah, so he was fired because of drugs.
Yeah,
drugs.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
had massive substance and alcohol abuse issues
Yeah,
at the
that's not going to end
time,
well, is it?
and because of I think because of Michael Biehn having been in Terminator, funnily enough,
Yeah, yeah.
they flipped him in. But it's also why Hicks's armor, which I'd never noticed before, but apparently Hicks's armor doesn't fit him at all well, and the reason it doesn't fit is because it
That was
was
designed for the other guy. So they
Yeah.
melt it off him pretty quick.
because they I mean the story of Aliens is pretty brilliant. I mean Cameron was
That's a
clever.
great story.
It was a bit like Ridley Scott, locking everyone in the Nostromo set and kind of making them come in at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, to put him under stress. Yeah.
To put them under stress and make them feel like they're in a spaceship in a closed environment, not getting off the set and all. And they did a similar thing. It was like, well, you're Colonial Marines, you're going to do boot camp, you're going to do training, you're going to get your armor, you're going to graffiti up and personalize all your armor. So they did all that. But then, like I say, this sort of, and I didn't really. I mean, they had to go through some like the big Vasquez with her big.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like a
Hold on.
steady
Yeah,
thing on her, yeah.
it is, isn't it? Yeah,
It
it's
was
supposed
a
to ease the
steady-
weight.
but it wasn't particularly good, and it really hurt their back because it wasn't as weight bearing as they tried to imply.
Yeah.
So her and the other guy that has to carry around this massive, great freaking machine gun had real, genuine problems because they struggled.
It was tough.
Yeah. Okay, I've got two questions for you similar.
Uh-oh.
Who played the Predator originally before he was replaced
know.
and the creature was redesigned?
It was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
It was.
Was it?
JCVD, yeah. Yeah.
And the creature looked terrible. And then, in theory, there was a scheduling conflict, Mr. Powers.
Oh, he got out of it, did he?
I think it wasn't a scheduling part. They were just like, you're about 4 feet
Too
six,
short. Yeah.
and we want somebody imposing. And I can't remember. I feel terrible because I can't remember. But they got this massive guy in with the redesigned. And I think it was Stan Winston that redesigned the creature, wasn't it?
It was,
and
and it-
short.
And it was Cameron who said it should have the mandible
mandibles.
mouth.
Yeah.
So that was his thing.
Interesting.
He was
my-
one of he, like Ridley Scott, was one of the people that actually draw.
Yeah.
He would literally draw what he wanted. He literally storyboarded. I mean, certainly Ridley Scott used to storyboard all his films.
Cameron still does it a bit now. I mean, there's a really good book called Tech Noir, which is all of his art from over the years. And on Avatar, on the first one, all the Banshee designs, the Thanator, which is the big six-legged, frilled kind of leopardy thing, all of it was designed by him. And then on the sequel, the Skimwing, which is the big fish-winged creature,
Fishy thing.
he designed that roughly, but Payakan, the great big whale, is exactly as he drew it, originally. So he's still, really very specific. There's like fish in the film, in the second one, and he drew really pencil sketches of them, and then that's what it ended up looking like, which I think is great. He's got it, all there.
Oh man, we went to the Tim Burton exhibition.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
3 weeks ago, and there wasn't a lot of it, in fairness, but what there was just
good.
astounding.
Yeah, I like it. Burton's art style is brilliant. I love it. It's really good.
Yeah, you'd see it at the end of the street, wouldn't you?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
My other question was going to be, do you know what character the Vasquez actress played in which other Cameron film?
Oh, Mr. Peevely.
You, sir. Dewar, you
It's him
boy.
again.
It was John Connor's mum or stepmom.
Adopted mum, yeah.
Spears the husband through the side of the head.
That's it with the milk carton, yeah.
With the milk curtain.
Yeah. She looks completely different because of the hair and I think she also has a small part in Titanic as well.
Does she?
I think so,
Cameron regular.
Yeah.
Might have done. I mean, I have to say, her physical prowess in Aliens is flipping amazing. And joking aside, she's albeit it's got It's got the most horrible line in the entire world. Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
Yeah.
She gets
And
the
that-
best comeback.
You-
No, have you?
Have you?
Yeah,
But
I'm just looking
yeah,
at Jeanette Goldstein.
that's I
Yeah.
was just looking
Yeah.
at
a
it.
real counterpoint to Ripley. Ripley's sort of
Mm.
you can do the sort of command structure thing, whereas Vasquez is a grunt to a degree, but physically just brilliant and very much more capable than some of her command crew.
This the other thing I love about that story. It's quite basic on some ways, but it's like all the bad guys who are beyond redemption and make a choice not to be redeemed get what they deserve, get their just desserts. Whereas all the good guys who we thought were dickheads at first, who do redeem themselves, they probably still die, but become heroes. And Vasquez and the guy with what's he called? I forget his blooming name now. Gorman.
Yeah.
That's him. Who's an absolute dickhead, right? They end up being heroes, and that last I love that moment when they're in the ventilation shafts and they're all coming at them and they're huddled together and they just look at each other. He grabs a hand and the both of them just go press the trigger.
Yeah.
I love it. It's it's things like that get you, and the fact that the guy, the company guy, who's an absolute cock.
Oh God, he's awful, isn't he?
Paul Ritter.
Yeah, exactly. That's him. Yeah.
Do you know what's weird is he turned up in Stranger Things, and I was like,
he did. Yeah, as a scientist dude.
I know this guy.
I know. Yeah, it took a while.
Absolutely.
But he was in loads of stuff, wasn't he? But he was in Beverly Hills Cop, wasn't he? That was he was Axel Foley's mate in that.
He did.
That's another good film.
Yeah. He wrote an Aliens What If comic last year or
did
the
he?
year before, where his character didn't die. And what happened when he got off the planet, and I'm
That's
not
a good
quite
point,
sure
because you don't actually see him die, do you?
No.
He's behind the door and you hear the screams, but you don't actually see anything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
The biggest
wanted
tragedy
to-
in Aliens by miles is the fact that in Aliens 3 they basically take all those people that you
dump
were
it,
so
don't they?
invested in leaving that film, and they don't even give them a decent dispatch.
I know, it's true. And do you know what the thing is? I love Alien 3. I really do like it.
It's good, yeah.
And it's like, despite that, I think it still ends up being an absolute crackingly tight film, but I hate the fact they did that because it just drives so much of the plot, and especially the last act of Aliens, the whole thing of her going back in to save Newt and come out.
And it's just
potentially you could have had a throwaway line where there's another reason that Ripley ends up on that planet, but Alien 3 has got some really uncomfortable stuff.
It's not an easy watch at all.
It's talking about the Y chromosomes, and she's basically the only woman on a planet that's basically full of sexual deviants and rapists, and it's not easy.
It's not easy viewing at all.
No.
Whereas
No, it's not.
Aliens it's probably the most accessible film in the whole thing, I think. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I think it's fantastic because of that. It still manages to be Aliens. It sets up a whole new direction, a whole new universe on the back of Ridley Scott's brilliant original.
Well, his pitch, apparently Cameron's pitch was he took in a whiteboard into the pitch meeting, and they all were having a discussion. He was like, give us your big plan. And he just
What's your plan?
It just literally wrote Alien and held it up and added an S on the end.
And then do you know what he did to the S? Do you know what he then did to the S?
Go on, what?
No.
Allegedly, he then drew 2 lines vertically through it.
Oh, very good.
And they went,
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would probably be the execs.
Yeah.
Can see the pitch meet. The trouble is, every time we talk about movies and stuff like that, I see you've seen the YouTube pitch meeting.
Yeah.
It's like, so Newt and the people from the previous movie, they survived, right? No, they're dead. Really? Do we want to do that? No problems. They're barely an inconvenience. Just breeze it.
Do you know what was really disappointing is that who was it? Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9. I
Yes.
think it was
Oh
him.
yeah, he had a treatment, didn't he?
He did,
So,
and it was
yeah.
going to effectively ignore Aliens 3 and Resurrection, etc., and carry on after Aliens. And
Yeah.
Weaver and Bean had agreed to come back, and then Ridley Scott went, "Oh no, I'm the mastermind behind Aliens. Let's make Prometheus," and he went and screwed it all. So well done, Ridley. His
Yeah.
own.
Prometheus is I hate Covenant. Covenant I detest. I don't know why, but I absolutely hate.
We didn't need an origin story.
Prometheus have
I did
kind
like
of
it.
made an element of peace.
Have you?
with
I'm
the-
yet to
don't
do
like
that.
The engineers, but arguably it's a better film. But whether it's
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think it is better than Covenant, but
it's
they
it's
didn't
like
need to-
comparing one piece of crap with a slightly less crap piece of crap.
They didn't
Yeah,
need to try and do an
That's just
origin.
me. That's awful, isn't it? When I went to see Prometheus, I watched it at the cinema, and I was so looking forward to it because all the preamble looked brilliant, you know. And I come out with my mate and stood outside. He lit up a cigarette, and I looked at him and I said, "Was that literally the worst film I've ever seen in my life?" And he goes, "That was shit." Just okay, fair enough.
They just didn't need to try and explain where the alien came from,
Oh.
and then the way they did
That's
it.
what I mean. It's what we
Yeah.
were talking about earlier before you joined.
But yeah, we were, weren't we? Come full circle.
If if the minute you take anything and you try and make the backstory more important than the narrative, it kind of like backstory is important, but
It's
once
just
you've
backstory.
established the character and
Yeah.
the universe, why go back and piss on everything that?
Yeah, it works
Exactly.
because it was the perfect killing organism. It came from somewhere. It crashed onto LV-426. That's all we needed to.
That's
No.
what I mean. It was a true alien. It was a xenomorph. We didn't need to know any more about it. We
No.
just, and
Yeah.
Aliens builds on that and goes, well, these are like,
Yeah,
these
it just
are
pits them
high,
against an army.
green, everything's cool, and then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, but they were created by engineers, and then that makes the space jockey feel like it makes
It's not
that
mysterious anymore, is
No.
it? It's like,
No.
like,
yeah.
nah. It's like,
I mean, the visuals of that first movie, are just astonishing. That for me is what sells it as much as anything. And none of the other Alien films have come close to that original Geiger vision. Just
so here's the question: how
Go on
many
then.
doctors have appeared in Aliens films?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, we know Paul McGann's been in for
Yeah.
sure. That's an easy one. Who else will be likely to have had? I'm running through now. Christopher Eccleston must have been in, hasn't he?
Yeah, was he in something?
Kind of
Was he in
thinks
one
like he
of
should
them?
have been. No, it was Pete Postlethwaite. I'm getting them confused.
Yeah. There is one more.
One more.
One more.
New Who or Old Who?
New Who?
New Who.
You're going to say it's a young David Tennant.
No.
A tiny David. No, it can't be.
Is it? It's not Capaldi, is it? Right, I know. I need to know.
John Hurt.
Dear.
John
Obviously.
Hurt.
Of course it is. Oh, for frick's sake. I'm annoyed at myself now. Oh, for heaven's sake.
So yeah, but it's weird because you think that
I'm
those,
going home. Of course it's John Hurt.
those two are connected anyway, I guess, because of the regeneration, but they're more connected because of the Alien films.
Yeah.
I've got to shoot off in a second, guys.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Just to let you know.
be reconvening for a live stream, won't we, next Friday
yeah,
night, 27th?
Yeah. Oh, that was what I meant to say. Was anybody that's got any questions on, the Meep or pod or
Fire them in.
like just fling them in because it'd be lovely to chat and just general questions. Just
Yeah, and
it's
it
always-
doesn't have
always-
to be who, does it? I'm going to hijack it and talk all about Avatar. Yes.
Mate, we're not going to. No one's going to show up if you do that. So don't do that.
Oh, yes. I won't.
Or three of you might show up. Sorry, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
three. Three hardcore fans in the world.
3 people who managed to spend $2 billion on,
Look,
on
it's that
the
time, right?
tickets.
Don't get 'em started.
Well, on that note, thank you.
Meep.
On
And,
that bombshell.
We will catch you on the live stream next week.
It's going to be
and
fun.
yes, do send some questions in. We're going to drop this episode as a
Do, please.
surprise, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday for people.
It's not a surprise now. It's been on for an hour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, they won't have known that it's coming because we didn't
Good
tell
point.
anyone, did
Well
they?
made.
So there you go.
Brilliant.
To you.
See, 2 hours to
so-
part with. Random raspberries. Lovely. On that note,
Right. Thanks, everyone. Catch you next time.
see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.